Good morning, warriors. My name's Kerry Duval, the Warrior Queen. Take two this morning, trying to go live. You can tell it's Monday, can't you?
Brilliant.
But this morning I'm joined by Kerry Burr, the Human GPS. We do really need to change your name, Kerry. You need something with Warrior on it. Who agrees? Put it in the comments if you agree. But today we're going to talk about suicide. Obviously, September is Suicide Awareness Month, and we've had Suicide Prevention Day on Friday. Was it Friday? It was Friday, wasn't it? I lose track of days. I lose track of days now. They're all just moving into each other. Even those kids are at school. It's just like, what day is it?
Yeah, I get that. Totally.
Yeah. Now, obviously, before the show, we were doing a little bit of research just to get a few numbers, and we can't actually find one for 2020.
Well, saying that, I just found one from the published for the Office for National Statistics on the UK government website. It's saying that 5,224 suicides were registered in 2020 in England and Wales, which apparently is lower than it was in 2019. By about 8.2% lower, where there were 5,691 deaths, and equivalent to an age standardized mortality rate of 10.0 deaths per 100,000 people. So whilst the Office for National Statistics are actually saying that there are slightly lower suicide rates having been registered for last year than there were from the year before, that's still a high number of suicides, to be fair. One is too many, to be honest. And it's not necessarily the fact that somebody has been compelled or somebody has actually taken their own lives. It's the very fact that they've been compelled to believe that is their only option.
Yeah. Now, obviously, we've got to keep in mind that in 2020, we had all the pandemic, and basically, if you had a positive COVID test, your death was ruled COVID. So, obviously, a lot of suicides might have been covered up by a positive COVID test. We won't go too much into COVID. Everybody has their own beliefs. Personally, I know both ours, but that aside, we'll leave it out. But what I did find was for every one suicide, there's 25 people attempting suicide. Now, obviously, during the pandemic, that would have probably gone a lot higher. Personally, I know I attempted suicide, not during the pandemic, but when I lost my nana, sadly, 3 years ago. Adam has attempted suicide. So we know what that dark place feels like. And we know that it can be hard to come out of that corner fighting and to bounce yourself back into life again. Adam's put a comment on my Facebook, should I add? He's hacked my Facebook this morning. Provisional analysis show that 11.7 suicides per 100,000 people in Q4, which is October to December 2020. That's just in England. So it's quite a lot of people. We've also found that 75% of all suicides are actually men. So
yeah, that's interesting. I mean, we live in a society, don't we, where men are still very much considered to be the hunter-gatherers, the providers for the family. And when you consider that there have been an awful lot of people that have sadly lost their jobs throughout this period, particularly, and so of course they're then left in the situation whereby they're starting to think, well, how on earth am I going to provide for my family? And that can be it can start a snowball effect or a domino effect. One negative thought and worry turns into another one and a bigger one and a bigger one and a bigger one until eventually, sadly, some people get to a point where they actually truly believe that their families would be better off without them.
Yeah. Obviously, when you get to that point, it's basically you ignore everything around you. You ignore the fact that you've got a partner, you've got kids, you've got a mum and dad that love you, friends that love you, that probably all miss you. All that goes out the window. It's just, I don't want to be here anymore. The world doesn't need me. I'm a burden on my family and my friends. And then you start thinking about ways of killing yourself. And obviously, it gets to the point where a lot of people do succeed in their attempts.
Yes, they do. I mean, I've worked with an awful lot of people over the years in various businesses, various organisations, and in those years, I've worked with 3 people specifically who ended their lives themselves. Now, 2 of those 3 were men, and with every single one of them, with each of those 3 people, they on the outside, to the outside world, there appeared to be very little problems, no more so than the rest of us would encounter through our own lives. And not things necessarily that other people would perhaps consider to be that much of an issue, but to that person, that individual, it all goes back to essentially what we're looking at is the individual's values. What is it that's really important to them? What is their top value? What is their top core value? And if their life is not in alignment with that value, then along with the negative thoughts and allowing those negative thoughts to take over their lives, those negative thoughts and feelings, the only logical solution to those individuals is to remove themselves from the alleged problem. When you flip it, and I don't want this to sound harsh by any means, if you're a partner or a family member related to a friend of, or even a work colleague, of these people, these individuals that do take their own lives because their lives have become that desperate to them that that's their only way out of it. It's the people that are left behind that have to deal with the aftermath, really, and especially the person that finds them, That is, I mean, we're kind of moving on to a slightly different area here, because that in itself is likely to be traumatic for that individual. But flip it back to the person that's felt it absolutely necessary to remove themselves from the whole picture. There are more people actually attempting suicide than actually succeed in taking their own lives. And I'm curious to know, because I also know a couple of people who in the past have done exactly that. They've attempted it, but they've actually then reached out to people. They've sent messages out to certain people, saying that this is what I'm doing, and in not so many words, but it's been great knowing you, and all the rest of it, and you suddenly think, whoa, hang on a minute, and somebody at some point is going to pick up that message and go, right, and they'll call for help and assistance, and that person gets taken to hospital, cared for appropriately. And thankfully, both of those people are still alive today to tell the tale, and are in much better places in their lives than they were at those particular points. But one also wonders how many. You can hear the dogs, can't you?
Yeah.
One also probably got an Amazon delivery or something like that. One also has to think, well, okay, out of all those people that attempt suicide, how many of them were actually totally and utterly serious about achieving it?
Yeah, and obviously that's the thing, isn't it? Some people say they want to commit suicide, but then they don't actually want to die. They just want just want people to acknowledge that cry for help. It's got to the point where I'm thinking of ending my life. I want some help. So
Yeah,
that's not a criticism of people.
It's not. No.
Yeah, that's a different type of thing. It's, you can be serious and not want the help and go ahead with the attempt, or you can get to the point where you're feeling like you want to attempt it, but then you want the help. So that's the two different sides.
I think with those people that are reaching out, it's got to that drastic point for them, because that they may have thought that for some time they've been reaching out for a bit of help, and felt that they're actually not getting that help, that support that they need. Perhaps family, and I know this actually for a fact, perhaps certain family members or friends or whomever, that the individual has been speaking to about what they consider to be their problems, things that are troubling them, things that are causing them to be unhappy, have been looked upon as quite trivial. Because let's face it, at the end, the fact is, and I've said this before, probably on every single coffee morning I've been on so far, that we, each of us, have our own model of the world. Each of us have our own core values, and our own beliefs, our own experiences, and like I said, with trauma, what one person considers to be traumatic, another won't necessarily. It's all dependent on very much our makeup, but again, how we, our own experiences and what we believe. So for somebody on the outside looking in, they might think, oh, just keep your chin up, everything will be fine. You've got nothing to worry about. You've got your health, you've got this, you've got that, you've got something else. And they're sort of pushing aside that issue, that one issue that really is an issue to that individual. And so my advice, if you like, to everyone listening today, if somebody comes to you with a problem, just take the time to listen to them, take them seriously. And if you don't feel that you're equipped or best placed to help them by guiding them in the direction of somebody who is. And that might be a phone call to the Samaritans, or, to if necessary, their GP or whomever, somebody that is qualified, if you like, to sit and listen and help them and allow them to talk through their issues, if you feel that you're not best placed to do that. But please, please, please don't just brush it aside as another, I've seen it happen. It happen. It's happened with me in years gone by. It's happened with me where people have gone, yeah. Well, no, your life isn't at risk, is it? Well, then what's the problem? Okay, no, my life isn't at risk, but nevertheless, this for me is a real problem, and I am struggling with it at that time, not now. But so these problems, whatever they are, however small or meaningless they may appear to other people, to that individual, they are real. Very real.
It's obviously going back to what you've mentioned about being told, oh, it'll be okay. You've got your family, you've got your friends, you've got your health, and men being told to man up or to grow up and to stop this stupid being silly and everything like that. You know, I've seen it myself as well on social media, and I've heard it being said to people off social media, and it's the stigma around it, because lots of people, they think, you know, all right, okay, you want to commit suicide, you're selfish, you're not thinking about your family, you're not thinking about your friends, and it's that's why there is still a lot of stigma around suicide and obviously mental health as well, because people don't understand it and they don't realise that when a person is crying out for help, they're saying they're having feelings of wanting to end their life. That's them asking for you to help them, even if it is just, listen, come to my house, let's have a brew, let's have a beer, whatever, you know, and let's just talk. If you need to rant away and be that non-judgmental listening ear for that person. So even if it takes you 3, 4, 5, 6 hours just to listen to that person rant, maybe giving them that time to rant, knowing they've got that safe space to get it all out in the open and to have another person listening to you, acknowledging the fact that, yeah, all right, you've got a problem, but a problem shared is a problem halved. Yes, there's professionals out there that are brilliant at helping you with things, but then there's also lots of people that will listen to you and will help you with self-care techniques to get yourself better. The mental health warriors included.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and just doing that, you'll find that being able to just offload all those feelings is so helpful to you. I mean, when I was down, Adam sat up with me all night, listened to everything that I poured out, and after a few hours pouring everything out and ranting about the world, I felt a little bit better already. And I felt like I was ready to take that next step on the road to recovery. And now look at me. You know, 12 months ago, you'd have never got me in front of a camera talking about being down and wanting to end my life. But now, you know, because I took those steps, look at where I am. You know,
Amazing.
I mean, we got told to say that, well, to not say, sorry, that if she can do it, so can I. But I think, well, yeah, if you see people that are doing it, that have come out of suicide and come away from the thoughts of suicide and self-harming, and turn their lives around completely and gone positive, they're role models. Well, hang on a minute, if they can do it, so can I. You might not necessarily do it the same way that we did it, but we can certainly help you to get your own way onto the road recovery. And in 12 months' time, your life can look very, very different as to what it is now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, it's it's being able to have that belief, isn't it?
Yeah.
But like you say, the very first step is actually reaching out to somebody and talking. And, you know, if and I'm talking to the audience now, if you happen to be that person that individual has reached out to, as I said just now, you know, please just listen. If all you do is listen and reassure them that they are loved, that they are wanted, and that they are needed, and that they are an integral and such an important part of your life, their family's life, you know, and that eventually things will get better, and they really will. When I had my nervous breakdown years ago, it's my understanding that the crisis team were called out, and there was apparently, because I don't recall anything that happened during that period. Apparently, there was concern for my safety. Don't know. I can't tell you whether or not that was actually, you know, the case, but there was genuine concern for my safety. And apparently, so I'm told, there was, and this was I heard this from my GP the following week when I went to see my GP. He informed me that there had been concern for my safety, and there was, you know, it was a fine line as to whether or not I was going to be sectioned. Okay.
Mm.
Now, this is where I have a slight issue. On the one hand, I understand sometimes the need to section an individual. I don't like that term, but we all know what that term means.
Mm.
What it actually does mean is that that person is taken into a safe and caring environment,
Yeah.
where they do receive help, but also they receive medication. And whilst medication works for some, it doesn't work for everyone.
Yeah.
But more importantly, than being given medication, more importantly, it's being given the opportunity to just talk, to literally empty out your head, your heart, whatever it is that you want to get off your chest, talk about everything, just to have somebody there to listen. And I'm not necessarily talking about a counsellor or a psychotherapist or anything like that. It doesn't have to be a medical professional, but just somebody who's willing to sit there and listen. But then what's really, really important is having the right people there to actually help them move forward.
Yeah.
Because the last thing, and I know this from having 2 assessments following that nervous breakdown, sometimes the last thing somebody wants to do is, once they've mentioned something, is to then pull it apart and analyze every single tiny aspect of it, and bring forward all those feelings that are connected to those tiny little parts. This is where when I was doing my research to find the right format, to find the right techniques, the right way forward to help people positively to move forward in their lives, I realised that counselling and psychotherapy was not the right way for me to do it. And this is my belief from my own experiences. First of all, it's working on the mindset, and it is kind of working with those feelings, because the feelings are the feelings and the thoughts are the all important aspects of all of this. And rather than actually pulling them apart, analysing them, surely it's far more effective probably for most people to go, do you know what can I learn from that experience? What can I learn from having had those thoughts and those feelings? What ultimately do I want? If I could have a perfect day, what would that look like? What would I see? What would I hear? What would I smell? What would I taste? How would it feel? And really kind of immerse yourself into those, into that scenario, into those feelings, those sensations.
Yeah.
And then realise, obviously, I was going to say, then realise, obviously, that perfect day is absolutely achievable. It'll take a little bit of work, but that perfect day is achievable. And that perfect day, you don't have to live it just the once. You can live it every day if you choose to do that.
And obviously, what I was going to say is, obviously, you did a post a couple of days ago on Facebook that I saw, that it's a sort of therapy that you can do. It's where you visualize what you want your life to be like in a certain amount of time. So let's say in a week, in 2 weeks, a month, 6 months, 12 months, whatever. If you can visualize what you want it to feel like, what you want to be able to taste or look like, what you want it to smell like, you can say, right, okay, that's what I want. These are the steps that I need to take to get to that. So whether it is, in 12 months' time, I want a nicer house or to have a nicer car. Well, obviously, you're going to want to say, right, okay, well, first step is I need to start either saving money or maybe get a new job. Start qualification is going to get me into a better paid job. Personally, I've done it. In 12 months' time, I want a nicer house and I want to be able to drive. So the steps that I need to take, I'm already doing. I need to do some training and get a couple of more qualifications behind me. And then obviously I need to learn to drive. I need to find somebody to sign the back of the photograph to say it's me. Stupid legal things, but hey ho.
This is yeah, absolutely. This is absolutely it. I mean, the post I believe that you're talking about there, Kerry, was probably to do with goal setting.
Yeah.
And actually doing visualization exercises for goal setting. It is a wonderful way of just allowing your unconscious mind to come into play. And when I say your unconscious mind, I'm talking about your intuition, those things that you're not consciously thinking about. And it might be that it'll throw up something that you don't even realize. But I would suggest that the very first place to start with somebody who is in that really low place, and suicide is a very real option for them, that it's first of all, what do you need to do to be happy, to feel happy, you know? Yeah. And I talk about gratitude a lot, and noticing what we have and who we have in our lives, and actually feeling that wonderful feeling of gratitude really, really help. I'm a very spiritual person, and I believe that feeling of gratitude is that cord that connects us to the universe, the source, however anybody wishes to, think of the source as the universe, as God, whomever, but it is that cord, it is that energy that we give out, it's that vibration that we give out. And we know that if we're feeling really good, really, happy, excited about things, all of a sudden, all of these wonderful things appear to us. We're more aware of who we are and who we have and what we have around us. And we're more aware of what we want to do, need to do, can do in order to create that amazing life. And this is something that I can't stress enough to people, is that we are all, every single one of us, are all capable of achieving the life that we truly want. We really are. Okay. Because we have that choice. We have choices. We really do have choices. And it's down to us as individuals to decide, which path we want to take.
Yeah.
Those opportunities become obvious to us. They're always there. It's just, are we awake enough? Are we aware enough to actually see them for what they truly are? Yeah. So my message to everybody out there is that, we are humans. We are beings being human, and we're going to experience all kinds of thoughts and feelings, and it's what we do, it's how we're made, and it's what we're meant to experience. But please remember that there are choices. There are always choices. And whilst I totally respect and accept that the individual must make the choice that is right for them at that moment, if it's a choice that's going to prevent them from living a wonderful, happy, love-filled, abundant life, and take them away from their loved ones, please, just before you make that move, just stop and think for one moment. What do I need to do? What do I need to do as that individual to turn this around and make things better?
Yeah.
Because I think as well, we do tend to put an awful lot of we tend to rely a lot on other people for our own happiness and our own successes, you know. And the thing is, happiness can really only come from within. It starts with us, ourselves.
Yeah.
Because, you know, if we're waiting on, if we're waiting for the right person to come into our lives before we can be truly happy, we're still not going to be truly happy. We might think we are, but if we're not happy with us, without ourselves as individuals, then we're not going to be truly happy in a relationship with that one particular person, you know.
Yeah,
Just
so I
looking, we've got
suppose
a few comments.
yeah, so I suppose what we're getting at is if you're in that moment and you feel like you want to end your life, please take up the idea of writing down on a piece of paper what you want your life to look like, what needs to happen to make go from where you are, that dark place that you're in at that very moment, to you being happy. So is it that you want to move to a new town and get away from all the negative around you, and then maybe obviously start a new job, find some new friends? You know, what do you need to do to get to that positive place where you can be happy, and start putting the little steps in place? Maybe it is that you reach out and say, you know, I want to move out the town I'm in. Can you help me look for a house or a flat? Or maybe you know somebody in the area you want to move to, and maybe you can go and live with them for a few weeks, so you can get your own place. Something like that. Yeah. Um, Something like that can be a great start, but it all starts with you taking that step and making a choice to step away from the suicidal thoughts that you're currently having. So please, 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 if you're in that moment and you're feeling like you want to end your life, please take that step towards positivity and happiness and put plans in place. Even if you start with, in 7 days, I want to still be here. Easy as that. You know?
I think it's very much a case of taking it a day at a time.
Yeah.
You know, so you can say, okay, I'm not going to end my life. You can say, I'm not going to end my life today. Yeah. And you can make the decision to feel better, feel happier the following day, the next day. And you wake up the next day and you probably do feel a little bit better, although those thoughts may still be there. But just say, do you know what? I'm not going to take my life today. Yeah. So it's and keep doing that. And as I suggested, you know, think, what does your perfect day look like? What does it sound like? What does it smell like? What does it taste like? What does it feel like? And really, really, really go deep down inside for this little exercise. Really go float right down deep inside your body and notice what you're seeing, what you're hearing, what you're smelling, what you're tasting, how you're feeling, and take it all in and really lock everything in particular those feelings.
Yeah, obviously,
and allow yourself, just immerse yourself in that vision, that sensation, that picture, for as long as you want to be there in your mind. Okay. Now, of course, when you come back into reality, that vision isn't there. But having said that, if you can visualize it, you can see it, you can hear it, you can smell it, you can taste it, you can feel it, you can create it, you can make it a reality. It won't happen overnight, but it will happen at some point. And if you can focus on that one perfect day, you know, over time, things will get better. And those thoughts of, you know, leaving this planet, leaving this life, will gradually disappear. It will always be a work in progress. But, you know, you will end up being grateful for that experience, because essentially it's woken you up. You've suddenly realized, now you know all the things that you don't want, and you know all the things that you do want, and you know that you are perfectly capable of achieving and having those things, because we are very powerful individuals. Whether you believe it or not, we are absolutely powerful. The law of attraction, you know, manifesting, the energy that you give out, you attract back. It's that simple, and it does work. And I speak from somebody who has that experience. So, you know, I'm not, it might sound a bit woo-woo to a few people out there, but you know what? It is a thing. It works. It really does.
Yeah. Obviously, we've had a couple of questions. Melissa Christie, how can someone who is in a dark place be supportive effectively, particularly if they are far away and unable to be present with them?
Pick up the phone. Pick up the phone. Doesn't matter what time of the day or night it is, whether you're halfway around the world from somebody, you know, it's middle of the day for them and it's the middle of the night for you. Pick up the phone.
Yeah. Pick up the phone. Do a video chat on Facebook or on Zoom.
Yeah, just pick up the phone. Yeah. And then if that person's happy to jump on a video call, then do that. If that's what they need to see that person's face, that individual's face, you know, just do it. And seriously, again, folks, you know, it may seem trivial to you being on the receiving end of that call, but to the person that's calling you, they're reaching out to you because they need you at that moment. And that particular call could be the difference between them waking up the following morning or not.
Yeah, or you getting a phone call, sadly this person's has ended their life last night. You know, and obviously we all know how horrible it is to lose a loved one.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and obviously none of us want that. We want to start preventing suicide as much as we can. So even by knowing that person's address, so if you're particularly worried about a person and it's getting to the point where they need that emergency help, having their address and then phoning emergency services in that area. So obviously we're in the UK, so obviously dial 999, and obviously tell them you're particularly worried about this person, they're at this address, can you send somebody like now, blues and twos, to that address and go and check on them. I'm concerned for their safety, and they will help, and they will go and help that person. If it is that person does need to be sectioned, then so be it. At least then they're in a safe, controlled environment. They're not going to harm themselves. And while they're there, they also get taught how to look after themselves. So whether it is through art or through music or anything else, right? They get taught those self-care techniques to then go out back into the world and look after themselves and hopefully never end up in that position again. But that's where we like it anyway. Adam has a question. Today I feel selfish to the fact I was going for self-care to focus on myself, but 10 minutes into it, I was on the phone to a mother and daughter for 3 hours as they wanted to end their life. So I chose to help them of focusing on myself. Luckily, the people are still here today. That's not selfish, Adam. That's you doing your job as a mental health coach. Yeah, all right, you wanted to do your self-care, but you stopped that mother and daughter ending their lives. So that's brilliant.
The thing about that is the fact that, Adam, you were obviously in the right place to be able to help them at that time. And, you know, I mean, I talk a lot about self-care as well, how important it is for each of us to take that time out every single day, even if it is just 10 to 15 minutes, to sit quietly, to read a book, to I don't know, have a nice, peaceful, relaxing bath, or just kind of stand, be out in nature for half an hour or whatever. We all need that time. We all need that time and space for that self-care. We have to look after ourselves before we can properly and totally effectively help other people. And I absolutely take my hat off to you, Adam, for dropping what you were doing to go and help those people that were clearly in need. And it's this is what I'm talking about. It's the very fact that there are people out there in need. There are people out there who will reach out. They will make that phone call. They will send that message. And whatever it is, if you're sitting there thinking, it's quite trivial to you, yeah, that may well be the case, but it's clearly not trivial to that individual, and that individual needs you. So just please just listen. There's all these hashtags and everything else going around on social media these days, aren't there? Like hashtag be kind, hashtag it's okay to not be okay.
Yeah.
It is okay to not be okay, but we don't want to not be okay. We want to be okay. In fact, we want to be more than okay. We want to be absolutely wonderful. And as I keep saying, the thing is, we can be, but it is down to us as individuals. And it's down to, others, our own circle, other people, to be there to support us. We need to know that we have that support circle, that support mechanism. And if we don't feel that we've got it, then that is when despair can set in. So it's about choosing, if you're somebody that lives on your own, for example, like me, apart from the dogs. I'm going to be completely honest here, that having the dogs got me out a bit of a dark place. When I first had them, they became my reason to get up in the morning, because they need to be let out to do what they need to do. They need to be walked, they need to be exercised, they need to be fed, and they're great company for me, and they love having me around in the daytime. And so it's great therapy, if you like, for people, in any individual, any person that's got family pets. They are relying on you to look after them.
Yep.
But their demands aren't that great, to be perfectly honest. As I say, with the dogs, get up, let out into the garden so that they can do what they need to do, be exercised once a day, play with them for a little bit, feed them, give them the occasional treat. They're happy. That's all they want. That's all they expect from us. And so that really does help. And this is why you have things like therapy dogs. I didn't realize until a few years ago that there are such things as therapy dogs. So they can be really useful, really helpful for people that are in a dark place right now and love animals. Getting all sorts of suggestions coming out here, but yeah, going back to what Adam was saying about feeling selfish, the fact that he was going to go and have some self-care. The thing is, if you feel that you can put that off for a little while, if you feel that you are capable of being able to be there for somebody that is in need, then that's fine, because you'll still have the opportunity later to do that self-care. If you were at a point of being absolutely exhausted and it was essential for you to have that self-care, then what I would suggest in that situation is that you look after yourself first. But what you can do, and this is the wonderful thing about the Mental Health Warriors movement, is the fact that there are enough of us within the movement around the world, I might add as well. We're not just here in the UK, we are around the world, for people to reach out to. And there are enough of us here that are happy and more than willing to respond and do what we can to help somebody who is in need.
Yeah, you know what, and that's a brilliant message to finish on. So thank you, Kerry, for joining me today. We will put a trigger warning on this video for anybody joining us on replays, because I think it is going to be needed. Adam is on at 1 p.m. today with Lily Taylor Ward. She's a fabulous singer, so please tune in for that. And then he's back again at 8 o'clock tonight, but I'm not sure who that is. I'm sure he might comment with it, Adam. I don't know all the schedule.
He just told me earlier, actually, but I can't remember who he said he was on with.
I can't remember either. But the next podcast today will be 1 p.m. Adam is on with Lily Taylor Ward. Please tune in with that. And please, if this has affected you, please get in touch with the Mental Health Warriors, or go and speak to a friend if you don't feel comfortable coming to us. But please remember, if you're in that dark place, there is help out there. You don't have to take that choice to make that move, end your life. There is help out there. There's plenty of it. And there's also lots of self-care techniques to look after yourself as well. I'm available, Adam's available, Kerry's available, and the rest of our warriors, we're all available. And like Kerry also said, we are around the world. We are a global unit. And any one of us will gladly sit there and let you rant away and not judge you. So thanks again for joining us, Kerry, and goodbye.
My pleasure.
See you.